The year is 2008, and you're sleeping over at your friend's house. Okay, come with me. Just relax. Close your eyes. Yeah, just close your eyes. You're at your friend's house. You both make your way to the living room couch and pop in this new game that many would come to know and beloved as Borderlands. Now, there's not much to say other than that you get to shoot enemies, you can complete some side quests, level up, all while collecting new guns to use against those enemies, repeating this cycle until the game finally reaches completion. It gets to an ending. But what if we had a game just like this one, but it didn't have to end, and it was set in an online space where you get to play with tons of different people at the same time? Well, this is essentially what Destiny 2 is. I mean, there's a couple of other major differences, but overall, Destiny 2 and Borderlands, they have an almost identical bone structure. They're first-person based looter shooters, and really good ones at that. Mechanically speaking, these two games are fantastic in what they do with gunplay and movement in a first-person space, and some of the storytelling, it ain't half bad. However, I don't think there are too many people out there who say they come to these games for the stories they tell. Okay, maybe there's one or two. But with that aside, you now know what to expect from Destiny 2, and therefore you should have a good idea of whether you should actually want to sink time into it. Not! Like I said, these games have the same bones, so to speak, but that doesn't mean they're the same people, because with Destiny being a more online-oriented live service type of game, there's just a little bit more going on with it in terms of what all you can do, as well as the sheer amount of content to explore. When Destiny 2 started out, it was pretty similar to Borderlands in that aspect, but it has since grown into something much bigger in the past 10-ish years that it's existed. Now, if you clicked on this video, you probably know what Destiny 2 is, okay? But you come begging one or two questions. Should you play it? Maybe you're even asking, should I stop playing it? Should I give it another try? Should I play it alone? Should I play it with friends? What all has changed and what's the same? Well, being a mega gamer and someone who just recently got back into Destiny 2, I am here to help you guys decide whether Destiny 2 is the game for you. Now, before we get into things, I've got to get two big concerns out of the way, and this applies to almost everyone, and those two things are going to be time and money. Two things that Destiny 2 will most definitely take from you. I'll address money first. So, this game, it's kind of expensive when you break it down. Now, if you've never played Destiny 2, then do yourself a favor and give the free trial a spin. It'll teach you the basics. It's got a pretty good amount of content for being free. And if you like what you tried, know that this game is not the type of thing that you pay for just one time. If you want to keep getting the constant stream of new content, or even want to access portions of the old content, you're gonna have to shell out some bucks, okay? My best advice is, if you do decide to buy the game after this review, just go with the newest expansion, as you're gonna get your level bumped up and you'll have immediate access to all the new content that the majority of the community is playing. However, if you want access to some of the older locations or the old campaigns, weapons, abilities, etc., you're gonna have to purchase the older expansions. Those types of things came in, which is honestly a major bummer, because in my opinion, the old stuff, it's really overpriced most of the time, and just not worth it, since a lot of it isn't even accessed as much by the majority of the community, with the exception of a couple things, which makes it even more of a pain, because you'll say drop $20 on an expansion for this one thing that is cool. It's just kind of frustrating, at least in my opinion. My advice is, if you end up really liking this game, wait for these expansions to eventually go on sale, because they will, and find a buddy to play them with if you can. When it comes to accessing new content, Destiny 2 will routinely release one expansion a year, and that expansion, it's going to have one big drop at the very beginning, and then there's going to be a little drip feed of content that spans for about 4 seasons. Now, each season releases some new story content and essentially a battle pass kind of thing with various rewards that players can work toward throughout the season while completing some of the new content the expansion provides. Now, this is kind of where the game gets you. In order to access the additional 3 seasons of content in Destiny 2, you have to pay more money. That's right. So you'll drop $40, $50 on an expansion, but you're still not going to get everything it has. And not only this, but after that expansion is done and the new one comes out, the majority of the content from those seasons is going to be completely erased from the game. Now, this triggers a lot of intense FOMO, otherwise known as fear of missing out. This creates a lot of impulse buying and a lot of time sinking. Now, an expansion is usually going to run you around like $40 to $50, and the seasonal content has to be paid for upfront, which is usually another $40-ish. So we're talking for a year of content that is going to go away, you are paying $100, which, realistically, is about $8.33 per month. In terms of spending time in Destiny 2, you can certainly spend a lot on the other hand. I mean, this game is like a baby MMO, essentially. So if you're familiar with MMOs, you'll probably know what to expect in terms of grinding for levels, equipping new gear, running dungeons, strikes and raids, and completing all those weekly activities that reset. Speaking of which, this game can be as long as you want it to be. For some people, Destiny 2 is a lifestyle, and for others, it's just a 5-hour romp through the campaign to catch up on the story. You know, it all comes down to what you want to do and accomplish in the game. You can stop whenever you want, but if you really want to keep going, there's pretty much always something else that you can do. But are you going to be doing these things alone? Are you going to be doing them with friends? Or are you going to be doing them with random people through a Discord server? Well, I think that the majority of the community would agree with me when I say that Destiny is best when played with friends in pretty much every case, but it's not too bad going solo, okay? You're not going to be totally bored out of your mind. I mean, if you really want to pay attention to the stories, I actually recommend running the campaigns by yourself, the campaigns at the very least, because like most other shooter campaigns nowadays, you run them solo. However, if you want to see all of what Destiny 2 has to offer, you're gonna have to link up with people at some point. Thankfully, if you don't have friends to play with, there are a lot of places to go to find people to play with. I mean, a lot of the activities already have standard matchmaking, but there are a couple of exceptions, and sadly, those exceptions harbor what I would consider to be the best content in the game, but we'll get to more of that in a bit. The main thing is, if you're playing it solo, it's not too bad, but if you want to see everything, you're going to have to either get some friends to play it or meet people, whether it's through the game or on a Discord server, and that's fine, you know? Doing stuff like that, if you're that type of person and you're socially outgoing, it can provide opportunities to make even more new friends. Now, I kind of want to get into the state of where Destiny 2 is today. Everyone has a different opinion right now, stemming primarily from why a person plays the game. If you play the game for the story, you're probably gonna hate where the game is right now, as there's a lot of unanswered questions leading to unanswered questions. It's pretty annoying and a common practice to keep people buying new expansions to get those questions hopefully answered in the future. Also, a ton of the old story content, like from the very beginning, has been completely cut from the game. If you're new, your only option to understanding what's going on is to hop on YouTube and look for a bunch of fan-made recaps that can only do so much compared to actually playing the old campaigns. However, if you play primarily for gameplay and you're okay with the story being a little lackluster at times, this game has got a lot going for it. At its core, Destiny 2 is and has always been one of the best first-person shooter games ever made. I mean, it's made by the guys who worked on this little project called, maybe you've heard of it. It's called Halo. Yeah, Halo. I mean, the game is hands down ton of fun to play, but for some people, that shine might wear off in the later stages of the game, where a lot of your time is spent repeating things you've already done for the chance to get some higher level gear. Don't worry though, this typically won't settle in for most people until they've played 50 plus hours of the game. Like I said, the game is endless if you want it to be, just maybe not in terms of its actual level of content. You will be doing the same activities over and over, and it's up to you as to whether or not those activities are worth your time to repeat constantly, albeit on different characters as well, but the same activities all the same. I want to preface all this though, because there are people that are and will get highly addicted to this game, including me at one point. Not all of these activities are created equal though. I can say without a doubt that dungeons and raiding in Destiny have provided me with some of my fondest video game memories to date. It's just a ton of fun to get with your friends and take on some crazy challenges and bosses, all while getting that great loot. If you can dedicate some time to the level grind in the beginning to be ready for those raids, then I highly recommend the game because, as I said before, in my opinion, the best of what Destiny can offer and some of the best content any video game has to offer in general, it revolves around the dungeons and raids in Destiny. They really are that good. Now, to those people that are wondering how the PvP is, well, it's not that great. I'm just gonna level with you. It's not bad, okay? The PvP in this game, it's not bad, but it's not great. There are just too many other good options for people that want to play a PvP-based shooter. Okay, I'm not going to go into the details, but just understand it's not as good as the other games that put full focus on creating great PvP experiences. I took a 4-year break from Destiny 2 and found that aside from the one new mode that they've added, there's really nothing else that's changed about it at all. So take that as you will for people that really want a great PvP experience. So if you're wondering whether or not to come back to Destiny after, taking a break, kind of like I did, know that the majority of the game's core is the same. There are new environments, there's a few additions in the way of some of those activities I discussed earlier, but the core loop of the game is still very much the same. If you want to get back into it, just come back in expecting the same patterns. This is still, at its core, going to be the same Destiny 2 that you played 3, 4, 5 years ago. It's changed a little bit, just not in ways that I feel would cause a lot of people to come back, unless they just had an itch to play the same Destiny 2 again, with some new stuff added. This game is not bad. It has never been bad. It just struggles at times to find itself and consistently please all the different types of players that it houses. So, jumping into Destiny, it can be expensive, it can be time-consuming, and the story can be inconsistent at times. But for some of you, the time spent will be worth it, as the game provides a ton of great content in the form of dungeons and raids that usually make up for some of its shortcomings. I really hope this video helped you guys decide whether or not Destiny 2 is right for you, and if it did, please leave a like and consider subscribing because it helps me out a ton and ensures that I can continue creating great new content for you all. Hope you all have a great day, and I will see you in the next one.